The Hall of Assembly stood as a monolithic structure, its shimmering walls woven from materials unknown to humanity, something between crystal and liquid, constantly shifting in iridescent hues. It was the beating heart of the Zenith Council, where the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy deliberated the fate of entire star systems. Today, at the center of the Grand Chamber, humanity stood in judgment. Ambassador Elena Vasquez adjusted her stance, standing tall before the gathered counselors. She was Earth's representative, a seasoned diplomat who had spent the last decade navigating the labyrinthine protocols of interstellar relations. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun, her suit pristine, her expression unyielding. She was here to do what no human had done before: make the case for Earth's admission into the Council. Members of the Zenith Council, she began, her voice carrying through the chamber. I come before you today, not as a supplicant, but as an equal. Humanity has long sought to reach beyond our world, to learn, to grow, and now, to stand alongside you in the great work of galactic unity. We seek membership, not as beneficiaries of your guidance, but as partners in progress. Murmurs rippled through the council chamber, a cacophony of whispers, chittering, and ultrasonic frequencies that human ears could not even perceive. Seated in their hovering platforms were representatives from over 30 star-faring civilizations, each one more ancient and advanced than the last. From the upper tiers, High Chancellor Asura of the Varani Dominion, a tall, elegant being with skin that shimmered like molten silver, tapped a long, clawed finger against the arm of her floating throne. Ambassador Vasquez, she said, her voice carrying the smooth, clipped precision of someone who had long since dismissed their opponent. I commend your eloquence, but let us be direct. The Zenith Council has reviewed Earth's petition. Your species lacks the stability, the wisdom, and the unity required to join our ranks. Your emotional volatility, your history of internal conflict, and your reckless expansion make you an unacceptable risk. Elena had expected resistance, but the bluntness of the rejection still struck like a blade to the ribs. She squared her shoulders. Chancellor Asura, humanity is no stranger to struggle. We've endured wars, plagues, natural disasters, and still we stand. If hardship is a disqualifier, then I must ask, how many among you have never known suffering? Do you truly believe your civilizations were born perfect? A deep growl rumbled from one of the council members, a hulking representative of the Tor-UK enclave, a warlike but disciplined species whose crimson-plated exoskeleton gleamed under the chamber's artificial light. Your kind fights amongst itself even now, the Tor-UK delegate rumbled. You are fractured, divided. Your nations bicker, your leaders change with the wind. You lack the longevity of vision required to sit among us. Elena clenched her jaw. And yet, despite these divisions, we have survived. Thrived. Tell me, what species here has unified without conflict? What civilization was built without struggle? We are no different than you were in your past. A sharp trill rang through the chamber as Counselor Scifi, a floating, translucent being from the Etherii Collective, pulsed with faint blue light. And yet you still engage in warfare. You still squander resources on primitive pursuits rather than collective advancement. A flicker of anger sparked in Elena's chest, but she kept her expression neutral. If you expect perfection before admission, then how did any of you join this council? That earned a ripple of discontent. She saw some delegates exchanging glances, perhaps questioning their own histories, their own species' darkest moments. But the Zenith Council had ruled for millennia, and inertia was a powerful thing. High Chancellor Asura raised a slender hand, silencing the murmurs. Your words are impassioned, Ambassador Vasquez, but the decision stands. Earth's application is denied. A finality hung in the air like a gavel strike. Elena exhaled slowly, absorbing the weight of those words. She had fought so hard to bring humanity to this moment, had believed, perhaps naively, that reason and diplomacy would be enough. But these beings, for all their wisdom and advancement, were still bound by arrogance. A second passed, then two. She spoke again, her voice calm but carrying a new, undeniable steel. "Then let me say this, Chancellor Asura." Elena took a step forward. "You may reject us today, but I promise you, there will come a time when you will look to humanity not with dismissal, but with necessity. And when that time comes, we will remember this moment." A flicker of something crossed Asura's expression, but she gave no response. Instead, she simply waved a hand, and the chamber's lighting shifted, a silent indication that the hearing had concluded. Elena turned on her heel and strode out of the chamber, her heart pounding. Behind her, murmurs of dismissal and speculation buzzed through the assembled counselors. Humanity had been rejected, but she knew, deep in her bones, that this was not the end of the story. Days later, aboard the International Stellar Outreach Headquarters in Geneva, Elena sat with Earth's leading scientists and policymakers, debriefing the rejection. "They were never going to accept us," muttered Dr. Kenji Sato, an exobiologist who had advised the delegation. "They see us as beneath them. This was just a formality." Elena exhaled, rubbing her temples. "Maybe, but I got the sense that some of them were listening. Maybe not today, but eventually." She trailed off as the room's holoscreens flickered to life. A transmission was coming through, one marked Urgent Priority 1. A frazzled-looking Dr. Althea Marsh, a xenopathologist stationed on the frontier world of Xiphos 9, appeared on screen. Her usually composed face was tight with strain. "We have a situation," she said. "An outbreak. A disease unlike anything we've seen before. It's spreading across multiple systems, and it's bad." A hushed silence fell over the room. "What kind of disease?" Elena asked. Dr. Marsh swallowed. "We don't know. It's hitting multiple species, seemingly indiscriminately. Their immune systems aren't responding. We've already lost contact with 3 colonies." Elena's stomach tightened. Interstellar pandemics were rare. Most advanced civilizations had long since conquered biological disease. Dr. Marsh hesitated before speaking again. "But there's something else." She glanced at someone off-screen before continuing. "So far, every species we've tested is susceptible." A pause. "Every species except one." The silence in the room became absolute. Elena felt her pulse quicken. "Which one?" Dr. Marsh's expression was grim. "Humans. We're immune." A cold shiver ran down Elena's spine. The Council had rejected humanity, but now the galaxy needed them, and humanity would not be so easily dismissed again. The disease moved faster than anyone had anticipated. What had begun as scattered reports from distant colonies quickly escalated into a full-scale interstellar crisis. Within days, major trade hubs reported outbreaks. Within weeks, entire planets had gone dark. The Zenith Council, so certain of their species' genetic perfection, now faced a reality they could not control. And through it all, one fact remained consistent. Humanity was immune. Elena Vasquez sat in the dimly lit war room beneath the International Stellar Outreach Headquarters in Geneva, staring at the growing list of affected worlds. She was no longer just a diplomat. She was now part of a crisis task force coordinating Earth's response. Across from her, Dr. Althea Marsh, the xenopathologist who had first identified the outbreak, was running her hands through her short curls, exhaustion playing on her face. "The infection spreads across every known biotype," Marsh said, her voice hoarse from lack of sleep. "Silicate-based life, carbon-based, methane-breathing species, it doesn't discriminate." She zoomed in on the latest distress signal from Doric Prime, a major technological hub for the Zenith Council. The screen flickered with static, the last transmission showing desperate officials in elaborate council robes, their flesh blistering with a dark, vein-like network beneath their skin. Elena exhaled. "Another world lost." "Symptoms?" she asked, though she already knew. Marsh sighed. "It begins with fatigue, then cellular decay. The body essentially starts shutting down its own systems. There's no immune response. Their bodies don't even recognize it as a threat." "In humanity?" Elena pressed. Marsh shook her head. "Not a single case. We've exposed test subjects under controlled conditions. No effect, not even a fever." A silence fell over the room. The implications were staggering. Why had humanity, considered fragile, primitive, reckless, survived what even the most genetically perfected species could not. Dr. Kenji Sato, the exobiologist who had once advised Earth's delegation, leaned forward. "It's not just immunity," he said. "It's as if the disease doesn't even recognize human biology as compatible." Elena frowned. "You mean it's not attacking us because we're different?" Sato nodded. "Different in a way the rest of the galaxy isn't. That's what we have to figure out." Meanwhile, at the heart of the Zenith Council, panic was taking hold. Chancellor Asura sat in the once pristine assembly hall, her silver skin now dulled with exhaustion. The chamber, once a place of serene governance, had descended into chaos. Delegates argued, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of fear and desperation. Some were too ill to even rise from their seats. Their bodies slumped against their floating platforms. Councillor Scifi, the translucent Ethereid delegate, pulsed weakly. "We must act. The Toryuke Enclave has reported a complete planetary collapse. If we do not find a cure soon, the Council itself will cease to function." A rasping voice from the shadows sent a shudder through the room. It was Krodan, the warlord of the Toryuke, his once mighty form now diminished. "We need the humans." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. The same species they had deemed too primitive now held the only known resistance to the plague. Chancellor Asura pressed her fingertips against her temples. Just weeks ago, she had dismissed humanity outright. Now, she had no choice but to beg for their help. With a heavy breath, she spoke. "Send a transmission to Earth. Request an emergency summit." Elena Vasquez stood inside Geneva's orbital summit chamber, staring at the massive holographic projection of Chancellor Asura. The alien leader, always regal, now looked hollow, her silver skin losing its luster. There was no arrogance in her voice now, only desperation. "Earth Ambassador," Asura said, her voice carefully measured. "The Zenith Council formally requests your assistance in understanding the nature of your immunity. Your species may be the only hope for countless civilizations." Elena could feel the weight of the moment pressing on her chest. This was the moment of reckoning. Humanity had been rejected. Now they were being begged for aid. She glanced around the chamber, where Earth's leadership, scientists, politicians, military officials, watched with calculating eyes. Some saw this as a moment of diplomacy. Others saw an opportunity. Elena folded her arms. "The last time we stood before the Council, you dismissed us as reckless, as unworthy. Now, you come to us in need." She let the silence stretch. "Tell me, Chancellor, what has changed?" Asura's expression was unreadable. "The circumstances, not humanity," Elena said. "Only your desperation." The room tensed. Some of Earth's representatives shifted uncomfortably, while others smirked at the obvious power shift. Asura exhaled slowly. "You were right, Ambassador Vasquez. We were arrogant." The words were bitter but honest. "I will not waste time debating the past. Will you help us?" A murmur of discussion erupted among Earth's delegation. Some argued for immediate aid, citing ethics and morality. Others saw a once-in-a-lifetime chance to claim a permanent seat at the interstellar table. Elena met Asura's gaze. "We will help," she said finally, "but not as inferiors." Asura stiffened. "You want our cooperation? Then Earth will be recognized as a full member of a Zenith Council. No debates, no deferrals." A hushed silence followed. Asura's lips pressed into a thin line. "Done," she said. Elena had expected a fight. The ease of the concession made her uneasy. With the agreement in place, Earth's greatest scientific minds collaborated with the Council's researchers. Laboratories worked around the clock, analyzing human DNA, tracing the evolutionary pathways that had forged their resilience. The answer came not in a single gene, but in millennia of suffering. Humanity had endured ice ages, pandemics, world wars, radiation exposure, and biowarfare. Their immune systems were battle-hardened, their genetic code a chaotic mess of adaptations. In contrast, the species of the Zenith Council had, over millennia, perfected themselves, eradicating genetic flaws, engineering immune systems to be pristine, efficient. But in doing so, they had made themselves fragile. They had lost the very chaos that made humanity unpredictable, and in this case, untouchable. Dr. Marsh summarized it best. The council species became too perfect. They lost their adaptability. Humanity never had that luxury. With this revelation, Earth scientists developed a treatment, partially derived from human DNA. It wasn't a cure, but it gave infected species a fighting chance. Weeks later, Elena stood before the Zenith Council, not as a rejected ambassador, but as a recognized equal. Chancellor Asura, still weary but recovering, addressed the chamber. Humanity has saved us from extinction. Without them, the council would no longer exist. A pause. It is the ruling of this council that Earth be granted full membership, effective immediately. Elena did not smile, though victory burned in her chest. This was not charity. This was earned. She took the podium, scanning the gathered delegates. Today, humanity joins the stars, not as inferiors, not as an afterthought, but as equals, she said, her voice carrying through the grand chamber. The once dismissed species had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Zenith Council Hall was no longer the same place where humanity had once stood, dismissed and belittled. It was still an architectural marvel. Hovering platforms, iridescent walls shifting between colors unknown to the human eye, but the power dynamic had shifted. Elena Vasquez walked with purpose, flanked by Earth's most prominent scientists and military leaders. This time, she wasn't pleading for a seat at the table. She was already sitting at it. The Council had granted Earth membership in exchange for humanity's assistance in stopping the plague, and they had delivered. Now, with the worst of the crisis contained, humanity faced a question far greater than membership. What would their role be in this new galactic order? Back on Earth, the world was not united in how to proceed. Some believed this was humanity's moral duty, that Earth had an obligation to help without demanding power. Others, particularly those in political and military sectors, saw an opportunity that would never come again. In a secure underground facility in Geneva, President Malcolm Okafor, along with top government and military leaders from major world powers, debated the issue behind closed doors. "We hold all the leverage," said General Amelia Roth, the head of the newly formed Earth Defense Fleet. "They need us. And if we've learned anything from history, it's that power isn't given, it's taken. We should demand more than just membership," added Ambassador Koji Tanaka of Japan. "We should push for a permanent seat on the High Council, the same level of authority as the founding members. We have earned it. But at what cost?" countered Dr. Althea Marsh, the xenopathologist who had helped crack the plague's mystery. "We're talking about civilizations that have existed for tens of thousands of years. If we push too hard, they might start seeing us as a threat." "We are a threat," Roth shot back. "They just didn't realize it until now." The argument raged for hours. Human history was filled with examples of civilizations that had risen too fast and fallen just as quickly. But it was also filled with those who had claimed their place and held it. Elena had listened in silence for most of the meeting, but now she stood. "The council underestimated us once," she said. "They won't make that mistake again. If we don't define our role now, they'll do it for us." Humanity's sudden ascension had unsettled the balance of power. In the depths of the Varani Dominion, High Chancellor Asura sat in a darkened chamber with representatives of the Council's founding species, the most ancient and powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They had ruled unchallenged for millennia, and now, for the first time, they felt uncertain. "They're expanding," rumbled Warlord Krodan of the Toryuke Enclave. His massive, armored form was still weakened from the plague, but his yellow eyes burned with intensity. Already, human-led scientific and military initiatives are spreading across key sectors. Soon, they will not just be equal, they will be dominant. "The humans saved us," countered Counselor Xiphon of the Etherii Collective. "Without them, we would be extinct." Asura tapped her clawed fingers against the smooth table. "And what happens when they realize that they no longer need us?" Silence. For centuries, the Zenith Council had operated on an unspoken hierarchy. Newer species could join, but true power remained with the founders. Now, the very species they had once considered primitive was breaking that model apart. Then we must ensure they remain dependent, Osiris said. A plan began to take shape. A month after humanity's official induction, a distress signal arrived from the Orythin system, one of the oldest and most strategically important star clusters in the Council's domain. The transmission was fragmented, but one thing was clear. An unknown force was attacking Council worlds. Entire fleets had vanished. Colonies had gone silent. At the Geneva Command Center, Earth's new Galactic Relations Council convened to discuss the situation. "This is a test," General Roth said flatly. "The Council wants to see how far we're willing to go. If we send our forces, we'll be committing Earth's military to an interstellar conflict, one we don't fully understand. They wouldn't manufacture a crisis this severe just to manipulate us," said Dr. Marsh. "Would they?" Elena wasn't so sure. But whether real or fabricated, this was the moment that would define humanity's future. "We can't ignore it," she said finally. "If we don't act, we'll be proving them right, that we're unreliable, too selfish to lead. If we do act, we gain more than respect. We gain influence." President Okafor nodded. "Then we send a fleet." 2 weeks later, Earth's first interstellar warships arrived in the Orythin system. The attackers were unknown, ships of unknown origin, operating with a level of precision that suggested either an advanced AI or an entirely new alien faction. The Council's forces had been outmatched, their fleets broken apart with terrifying ease. But humanity was different. The Earth Defense Fleet, though smaller and technologically less advanced, had something the others lacked: tactical unpredictability. Human military strategy had been shaped by chaos, asymmetrical warfare, adaptability, and an ability to win battles even when outgunned. The Council's fleets had been designed for order, discipline, perfection. The enemy didn't expect chaos. And that's exactly what humanity gave them. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the unknown enemy had retreated. Earth's forces had held the line. For the first time, humanity had defended not just itself, but the entire galactic order. And that changed everything. In the aftermath of the battle, Chancellor Asura once again stood before the Zenith Council. But this time, it was Elena Vasquez who sat beside her, not as a mere ambassador, but as a permanent member of the High Council. "The humans have proven their worth," Asura admitted, her voice carefully neutral. "But now we must ask, what is their place in the future?" Elena stood, scanning the room. She saw fear, respect, uncertainty in the eyes of the other counselors. "We were never meant to be ruled," she said, "and we will not rule others. But humanity will no longer be a footnote in history." She let the silence stretch. "Our place is here, not as followers, not as conquerors, but as equals." A murmur of uneasy agreement spread through the chamber. The Zenith Council would never be the same, and neither would the galaxy. Far beyond the edges of known space, in the ruins of an abandoned star system, the remnants of the unknown fleet gathered. A lone figure, unseen by any council species, observed the human victory. "They adapt quickly," the figure murmured. A mechanical voice responded. "Then we must adapt faster." The galaxy had changed, and humanity's rise had only just begun.